My name is Elizabeth Pampalone, and you're listening to Marketing Minimalism. Last time we were talking about social media not being a part of your strategy. Oh my gosh, you all were probably freaking out when I said this. But I want to tell you a story. I am actually a victim of having the inability to control myself with social media. And I want to go back to 2019, before everything started, right? Before we really had a fundamental change in what we were doing as business owners. And I want to take you back to that time. I was getting burnt out. I was running around crazy. I was doing too much. And I decided to remove myself from social media, personally and professionally, for 9 months. And you know I do these crazy experiments. You've heard me talk about it before. This 9-month period was one of the most significant in my business life and in my professional life. And I say this because as a person who has definitely had a social media addiction in the past, it was such a freeing and frustrating experience. One, I felt very frustrated because it's a withdrawal symptoms, right? You go through these withdrawal symptoms, you deal with that. My brain literally had to retrain itself to not constantly be thinking, oh my gosh, I have to post this. Oh, what should I post? Oh, that would be a great post. My brain had to stop constantly being obsessive, compulsive, essentially, about those kinds of things. So that was frustrating. Another frustrating thing was I felt like I was missing out on things. So FOMO is relatively a new phenomenon as far as, the modern world. And I think it's only because of social media. And I can tell you right now, I was on my LinkedIn account today because I do have a LinkedIn account. I'll get back to my story in a second. And I was on my LinkedIn account today on my computer. Another whole story in that. And I was scrolling through to see if there was anything I needed to respond to. And I was feeling a little bit anxious, like, oh my gosh, I'm missing these things. I didn't see this, so I didn't know that was happening. I should have been a part of that. And I was like, my gosh, I have had one of the most successful months here at Absolute Marketing. And I'm sitting here going, oh my gosh, I missed this. And so back to my little story, I was frustrated that I was having a lot of FOMO as well. But I didn't know what I was missing because I didn't see it. So it was a little bit lessened of a blow. I wasn't trying to, they see it and then feel upset about it. So I was dealing with those frustrations. But I can tell you during that 9 months, going back after that time, because I thought, I've had a break. It's time to go back. I need to use it for, this or that. I'm glad that I went back because of the pandemic and what was going to happen and what was about to happen at that point. But honestly, I kind of I've had this removed feeling from social media for a long time. And I wanted to share that with you because when I came back, I can honestly tell you, and I do not lie on this podcast, I do not over-exaggerate. If I'm over-exaggerating, I will tell you. But I did not have anybody tell me that they missed me on social media. It was kind of crazy. I think there was like one person who came up to me like at an event after I had, come back on social media and I started posting again for my business. They said to me, "Oh, I just saw your post the other day. You haven't been posting in a while. Are you okay?" And it had been already 9 months. So my point is, like, the person didn't even have the time, the capacity, or didn't even know that I hadn't been on until they realized, oh wait, this is something I haven't seen. I haven't seen her in a while. She's now posting. I wonder if she's okay. And so, that kind of like anecdotal, what is that like? The anecdotal stat, I guess. The anecdotal stat that says, okay, one person out of all the people I know on social and all the people that I've accumulated on my social channels over the years, no one noticed. Now, was I still emailing? Yes. Was I still out there marketing myself in person? Of course. I was doing all the other things, but I just took off social media and I just didn't do it. And I just thought it was a fascinating, tie-in to see like, wow, like I'm not actually getting anything from social media. And I can honestly tell you too, if you look back at our numbers, 2019 up to this date, 2022, which I'm trying to make 2022 our best year ever. 2019 was our best year ever. 2020 was a close second, and 2021 was a close third. So even though we have those 3 high years, 2019 was the best year I've ever had. And the year I spent the most time, the year I spent the least amount of time and the most time in my business and the least amount of time on social media. And so I want to encourage you to take a look at that and consider your own experiment. Maybe it's 2 months, maybe it's 2 weeks, maybe it's 3 months, maybe it's a whole year. And, I am a social media marketer. I do not say this to work myself out of a job. Trust me, there are plenty of people who do need to use social media, can use it effectively, and it's part of their marketing scheme. But for those of us who are looking at it going, gosh darn it, what did I get out of it? And I can tell you that consistency with social media helps. So if you're not being consistent, you might as well stop. And then you don't have to worry about it, right? But if you are being consistent with not only social, which I talk about all the time, you have to be consistent with your website. You have to be consistent with your branding across all the platforms you're using. You have to be consistent on YouTube if you're doing that. You have to be consistent with your blog if you're blogging, or your podcast if you're podcasting. So it's not just about, hey, let's get rid of social media, throw it out the window. We're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater here, okay? We are actually looking at what is actually serving you. If you've been doing social media for many years and you're like, I'm kind of done, I'm over it, I'm not getting anything from it, and I'm not having anyone say, oh, I heard your podcast because you send it out on social media, etc. You really do kind of get a sense from when people book you where they came from. And if social media is part of that I see you everywhere structure, right? So that's what I had a lot in the beginning of my career. I was everywhere, quote unquote, everywhere. And that meant that I was consistent on social, consistent with my website, consistent emailing things out, consistent in person, consistently speaking. So I was using all the strategies that I was promoting at the time. And now we've got podcasting and we've got memberships and all these other things. So I was using all the strategies, but I was doing all of them consistently. Nothing was over the top. Nothing was taking over. But if you've been doing social media for a while and you've been doing it consistently and you're not really feeling like it's contributing to that I see you everywhere structure of your marketing, then you really could let it go. So if you want to talk about how you can let social media go, if you should let social media go, I'm happy to talk with you one-on-one in person. We can talk over the phone. I actually have a book a chat button on the website, getabsolutemarketing.com. And I would love to talk with you about, should you ditch social media this year? Or should you do an experiment, and how would that work? So I would love to chat with you one-on-one about that, but really think about this and see if there's a way that you can reduce or eliminate your social media from your marketing and still be successful. Talk to you next time. Thanks for listening. If you'd like to learn more, please visit marketingminimalism.com.